Great.
Here we are.
Perfect.
Do you want to just say anything about who you are or who I am?
Yes. Yeah. Who are you?
Who am I? Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, that's worse than how are you? How are you is one of my least favorite questions, but who am I? Oh no. Would you give a little something that I could either add to or
Oh, yes.
modify? That might be fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
I
And
love
I
it.
could do the
So,
same for you. Yeah.
so who you seem to me to be is this creative, sensual, big-hearted genius who has been who has been holding these spaces and creating a context where especially women can come
Mhm.
and can discover how much they love being in their body and change how they relate to themselves as the one in their body through the kind of, I don't know, using the body, I think, in movement and costume and expression as the territory for that, as the experiment laboratory.
Yeah.
And then teaming up too, having women do this together and then being able to learn from each other and feel with each other and go deeper. Is that accurate?
Um, I think yes, it is. I think that yes. What's the piece that I want to sort of add or um, it's the part about the body. We absolutely work with the body, but the process is just a coming to life process,
Yeah.
which for me I don't have any idea how someone could do without the body.
Oh, yeah.
So the body, it's so of course to me that I talk a little less about the body because it's like of course.
Yeah.
So interesting to me is what happens. Like I think when the focus goes on too much, are you in your body? What about your body? That it's
Yeah.
I just offer simple invitations that are, of course you're going to use your body to answer that invitation. So I would take the focus off, the direct focus off, and just come with an oh of course. So just bring the action down to where it's a simple enough action that someone almost doesn't realize at first they're using their body. They're
Yeah.
just noticing what it feels like to
Yeah.
be them. And from that place, you know, because this is the territory that you know so well of when we begin to acknowledge what we're feeling, it's the doorway to an actual life beginning.
Yeah.
It's the start. And it's the start that we keep coming back to and back to. It's not like, oh, I did that one day and now I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's the come back to, come back to, come back to, come back to.
Yeah.
So it makes, in a way, the curriculum, I think our life curriculum is really very simple. It's devastatingly simple.
Yeah.
But we are so good at just like ducking out that back door.
Yes. Oh, wow. It's wild that you say back door because I was thinking today that a work talk or a discovery space that I want to exist is about what are your back doors and how do you do it? And how come? Like what is it that gets you like sneaking out the back door?
I mean, I'm seeing the door behind you. There's a door behind me.
Yeah, we both yeah.
But I want to make sure that I also, I mean, I want to just lift up what I know of you, and you can tailor it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I I see and experience you, Nicole, as I just want to say this, an agent of presence and change and transformation and um I want to say flexible attention. Ooh. Um, who is dedicating, has dedicated, and is dedicating your existence to experimenting in the field, very, very practically, in the field of what is possible, what is possible for um, relation, how a human can relate to themselves and to other selves and to life itself.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And doing the experiments. You're not sitting there just, oh, I'm going to write a book about the theory of what might be possible. You're living it, and you have been living it. How does
Wow.
that land?
It's nourishing to hear, to receive that, like, reflection, and it does land as accurate. It's and yeah, if there's anything that I would add, it's
Yeah,
something about the possibilities are about a radically different way of humans being here.
yeah,
Here being, like we say things like on earth, in life, on the planet, incarnated.
right, right.
And it's like, for me, it's like something about this planet in its solar system, in its galactic system, in its, you know, you can get pretty big.
Yeah, yeah.
And 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 I love doing that because then I come back to this like, oh, I'm so small. Like I am just a speck in that. And
Ooh,
I'm the only speck I can really remember being, this lifetime's it for me as far as my practical kind of
yeah,
sense of reality goes.
yeah,
And and like human beings have done this like wild collective maneuver that gets us into this reality where we barely realize, we don't live as if this is actually it, like this is how it is, this desk and this ceiling and these walls and this heater and these lights, and it's like I'm so yeah, I've got so many things to distract me from experiencing that I am a Gaian. I'm a morsel of Gaia.
yeah.
and
Just in case someone
and you
listening to this,
too.
just in case someone who's listening to this doesn't know, Gaia is a term for Mother Earth. Yes.
Yes,
So,
yes, and
a being of the earth. Would you say
yeah,
Gaian?
and in a sense, it's like distinct from like it's not the kind of like Mother Earth where we're like humanifying. There's a more refined word
You're
for
not you're
that.
not
Yes,
anthropomorphizing the earth. You're not.
yeah.
Okay.
The Earth is an alive entity, and I'm a cell or something of Gaia. There's a morphogenetic field. It's got an energetic
Mm,
part, it's got a physical level, and it's got this, and there's this realm of possibility that exists that's like, what is possible here
yeah.
as Gaia,
Yeah.
as and human beings as this really kind of interesting species that Gaia came up with.
Huh. That,
and,
I mean,
and
just makes me think of all these things. Like, I mean, I don't know. I do. Who would know? Did we come from the earth? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that like the I don't know. Hands
theories
up at that.
abound, you know theories abound, and
Trees
I
abound.
think part of this, like what you were saying, it's not just about thinking it, it's about like doing the experiments to
Yeah,
discover how it is, so that it's not theorizing about,
yeah,
oh, I think that I'm a
yeah,
particle of this entity. It's like what if I do these experiments of discovering how I am like connected, attached, like, and here we are back in the body. It's like this matter, this
Oh
stuff,
yeah, yeah.
this is like
I mean, this is yeah, yeah.
this came from food made this, you know, like, and this something else, this intelligence that ordered it through all these, you know, wild mechanism that science, you know, pulls it apart and kind of mentalizes it and makes it very academic, and you can study that,
Mhm.
and fascinates me. And then there's this like, well, living in it, and what you know, your burlesque from the inside out is like to be it, being human, being Gaian from the inside of what I orient, what I can orient to as inside, and then orienting it out in relational spaces.
Can I say I haven't thought about this for a while. I think I speak to it less often, but um this is how I speak. It came from the shimmy, this movement of the shimmy, which is a vibration. It's a vibration of the body. Yeah. Oh, it's such a good movement. It's, oh,
Yeah.
um, so I used to always describe, and I still believe it, but I think I've just spoken it less, and you brought it back to me that um, so you know we have a fingerprint, and fingerprints are unrepeatable. The palm changes, our palm changes, but our fingerprints don't. You knew that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I reference what is another print, which I call it the person print, which if we're to locate it, it's from the top of the head down down and up through the body to the perineum. That's where it's located in the body. Um, and as long as our meat suits are animated with our spirit while we are alive,
Yeah.
that this geography is illuminated
Mm.
with light that goes from the center of the earth up through our perineum, through our body, through the top of our head, up to I don't know where, really high up, and same thing coming down from there. And
Yeah.
they're dancing, and it looks like helix,
Yeah.
double helix.
Yeah.
And then I was telling that in an intro workshop, and one woman said, because she was a yoga therapist, and she said, "Oh, that's also we describe it in yogic terms as the shushumna." So I mean, cross
Yeah.
model. I'm being a little poetic about it, but also quite literal as tracking to other models. That
Yeah.
this is the life. It's that connection. We are the connection between um, Gaia and the cosmos. We are that.
Yeah.
This flesh is that. Your flesh is that.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah. I was learning lately about a kind of another level of that where this spiral dance actually happens in through the heart and all of the blood vessels.
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
Oh,
it was
I want
just so cool.
I want to know about that to add a layer.
Yeah, it was like it comes from this like this might sound kind of gross, but like cutting open hearts and finding out that they're actually these kind of spiralizers, and
Wow.
that, you know, the
Of
heart
course
has
they
been
are.
thought,
Of course they are.
yeah, and the heart has been thought of as like a pump, but it's like actually it's more of a spiralizing way station that your
Did,
blood
did
comes back to over and over.
yeah. Did Tom Cohen, was there anything? He actually wrote a book, a man named Tom Cohen, Dr. Tom Cohen, called The Heart is Not a Pump, I believe. I think I
Oh,
have it
wow.
somewhere on audio, but I haven't listened to it yet. The Heart is Not a Pump. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some I don't know. It could potentially Thomas Cohen
Yeah.
could add to this understanding. Yeah. Mm,
Cool.
mm, mm, mm.
Yeah. So, and wild, because, yeah, the shimmy move, it's like, I mean, there's so many things that when I've changed how I think of them from, say, going around in circles,
Uh-huh.
spiraling up
Yeah.
and down
Yes.
at the same
Yes.
time. It just really
Yes.
works for me. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it back to the shimmy because I mean, this is literally how it got my brain to even think of these things, is that I could tell that the shimmy is sending our person print out. It's making it more visible. It's moving, it's light and sound, but it's in the shape of us. Because I have, on a very practical level, literally shaken my ass in front of large groups of people, and I could feel I am sending my vibration out, and they felt it.
Yeah.
This is way something other than me titillating them.
Yeah.
It's like a spiritual titillation.
Yeah.
It's like a there is this the essence and vibration of me wafted throughout the space. So I'm a learn first, experiment first, understand later for the most
Mm.
part. For the
Yeah.
most part. And that I just knew, like, oh my, something's happening here. Something's happening.
Yeah. Cool. I love it. I love it. And what you said about like coming alive, because there's like being alive, where yes, we call this, we point to the animated humans, and even some animated humans who don't look all that animated because they're, unconscious or in comas, like they
Right,
medically,
right, right.
they're still alive, but they're not.
Yeah. I mean, we could make a whole bunch of different
Yeah, gradients.
gradients of aliveness. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wrote an article a couple days ago about this other area of aliveness where, like I can think of I can think of times, and I can look at photos of myself where you know, I was alive, and there were parts of me that were totally numbed out, frozen, plasticized in a way, like masked, like this mask that I've been working on, not just my mask over my face, but I've been working on like disintegrating these energetic structures that seem to also be made of emotions and thoughts, uh, behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, like patterns that make up like the personality of me without it necessarily being an expression of the, what you might call the person print, like this unique
Yes.
essence of
Yes.
being.
Yes. When you said, oh, wait, is this a good pause moment? Just for a
Yeah.
moment? The way you separated and you said disintegrating,
Yeah.
I really heard what you meant. You didn't say disintegrating. You said disintegrating. Thank you, because that helped me understand anew a way to hold a linguistic model, but very helpful for, well, it presupposes, which I find is true, that all the ways that we are bound and constricted from our own sentience, I mean sentience in the widest way, not just touch, taste, all the senses,
Mhm.
is because the binding has integrated in,
Yeah.
and it actually has to disintegrate, which is not just a matter of, ooh, it almost makes me think of cancer. We can't just kill the whole human. Like that's how allopathic medicine treats cancer. We're going to kind of
Yeah.
kill the whole person, hoping that the cancer dies and they don't. But we're going
Yes.
to aim it. We're just going to destroy this being and hope that the being lives.
Yeah.
And yes, that does help with cancer, but it's the model that I'm saying, if we take that metaphorically, it doesn't work so well
Yeah.
on the metaphoric level of how we can't try to kill the binding integrations, or maybe there's some more helpful. we actually have to recognize and become, and rail against someone, like, how is it that I've never been able to, you know whatever it is, reach for what I want, or
Yeah.
so many things. I don't know what to say on it, but all very practical things. uh,
Yeah.
have a have a sustaining, nourishing relationship with a partner. uh, Reach for the work that is enlivening to me. Say what I mean in public, whatever the things are, the things
Yeah.
that hold us from that. I've almost gone so far, help me if I lose the thread, but that's whatever held that. We might, once we realize it, we need to rail against it and have the, oh my God, what the fuck? And then come to ultimate neutrality around it
Yeah.
after the feelings, just of a, okay, this is in a school, and I'll mention it because it's such a profound school in my life, NLP Marin.
Mm.
I learned that way of the, oh my, literally it's called OMG, WTF, and when there's enough of that, okay. And the okay is just this, I'm not resisting it anymore. I'm not making deals with the pattern. I'm not pushing against it. I'm not trying to extinguish it or kill it like I would the cancer.
Yeah.
It's just okay. And then when those three stages are complete, what can arise, and only then can it arise, is, now what would I like?
Yeah.
You can't jump to now what would I like.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know this because you practice this. You practice this extremely tangibly and practically with the spaces that you hold for um, feeling rage, fear, and joy. Are those the primary?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sadness.
And sadness.
Yeah.
Sadness slash grief. Or do
Yeah.
you specifically
And
say sadness?
well, it like I love these distinct categories of feeling, which it's so widely uh like clouded, so widely clouded, and I'm not saying that's bad or wrong. What I am saying is that there's a more useful way of discerning, and when there's so many ways that feelings get mixed with thoughts, and then people say I feel, and they say these words, and
They're not feelings.
they're not feelings, they're a mixture of thoughts and feelings. And then so if you work that out and go, okay, no, that's a story, that's a thought, that's a belief. This is not a feeling from my emotional body. It's from my mental body. So if you can kind of
I mean,
distinguish
you're an
those.
expert at that. And I just want to lift up somewhere here in this conversation, connected to this conversation, I want you to share how people can do this work with you, or with people that you're like, you are a catalyst for this work
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
Good thing I'm one of many. So yeah.
You're one of many, but you
Yeah.
are a dedicated one of many.
Yeah, I
And
am.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I love it, because I needed it so badly.
That's why
Like,
my work
so
exists too.
desperately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, so once the thoughts are discerned from the feelings, then to discern the four feelings from each other. And there's this cool, like, I mean, talk about a never-ending adventure. You said earlier, thing about starting over and over and over, and that's a spiral. It's a learning spiral. It's like, I got it on this level, and now I've got this, and now I've got this, and my competence keeps growing about discerning the four feelings from each other: anger, sadness, fear, joy. And like what you said about grief, like my discovery about that has been, grief has anger in it, grief has fear in it, grief
Oh.
even has joy in it.
Yeah, no, no, grief. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So that's why specifically I had the sense there was specificity for it. Sadness, fear, joy. Because the exercise of being able to on purpose separate them is
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, to distinguish them
Yeah.
as distinct from each other. And it's not a theory. It's actually,
I
like you said,
would like, I want to do this work with you.
Okay.
Okay. But I have a question. Once you've made the distinctions, I'm sorry, what's the word? The distinguishes. Once you've made the distinctions, it is possible. I mean, I have been able to track before that there were two very different feelings that I had, but because I could tell they were different, it actually felt important to feel them together.
Mm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that actually let me know about my own depth.
Yeah.
So the distinguishing doesn't mean we have to only feel them one at a time. I'm sure.
Exactly. And
Right.
there's a big difference, again, another distinction between two feelings that are mixed together and
Oh,
two feelings that are happening at the same time, but they're not mixed.
okay. Thank you. Wow.
It's
That makes a
happening
lot
at
of
the
sense,
same
but I have not experimented with that.
Yeah, and it's
Wow.
wild because
Wow.
I had an experience like 3 or 4 days ago where I was what was happening in me. I got some coaching from someone, and so I did this kind of navigation, and then I was like, oh, I'm doing something completely different than I've ever remember doing.
What was it?
Well, it had to do with another distinction, which is that there's the four distinct categories of feeling: anger, sadness, fear, joy. And then there are the feelings that I might be having that are actually about the past,
Oh,
and they're not about the here and now.
huh. Huh.
And in this game world of conscious feelings work that I play in is part of a bigger game world called possibility management.
Yes.
And the conscious feelings work reaches to the very edges of every little bit of the territory of this game world.
Yes.
And so there's been a lot of people exploring and experimenting before me
Yes.
and experimenting with a whole bunch of other people. And what it means is that this is empirical knowledge. It's not theoretical, it's not academic,
It's a
it's
bunch of people
about
reporting, and
experience.
they've been reporting.
Yeah, where they say, this is what I discovered, but don't believe me that that's how it is. Do
Yes.
your own experiments and
Yes.
let me
Yes.
know how it goes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
I might get more distinction from your experiments than I got from my own. And this
Yes.
is what happened in this call was somebody who's been experimenting, in this realm at least longer than I have, who'd had people hold space for her, and so she was able to say, like, I was speaking from my sadness while feeling it, which is often something people don't do too, is we talk about our feelings without feeling them.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay.
So then there's this
Yes.
information
Yes.
coming this way that's
They
like not
decided about it.
analysis.
They
Yeah.
decided about it, and they're referencing something that they're not currently feeling, but they decided about it, and there's a whole bunch of story too. So it's really like about 3 blocks away, at least 3 meters away from any
Yeah,
feeling.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as distinct from this feeling. And then I'm like, oh, I feel this because. And it's not like because rationalizing and analyzing, it's the cause of the cause. It's even not a great word. I feel this,
Cause
and
is
what
not.
I'm
Yes.
getting from it is this is what it's about. And
Yeah.
it's so different than what I might think it's about.
You're because how my mind is, and what excites me is holding like models next to models to see what
Yeah.
they illuminate, or what's missing in this model but it's in this model. This is why, I mean, actually, like, I'm a models geek. I've never heard that said before, but I bet you're one too.
I
Oh,
think I
I'm a
am.
models geek. So I'm actually, there's so many thoughts I can't even track them all, but I'll just catch this one that's flying by. That the feeling piece, even though, like, in what I call bio, and I'll make the distinction between bio and burlesque from the inside out. In bio, which is the model or method I've been working with, feelings, what someone feels is central. In possibility management, which is the primary, safe to say, the primary model you've been working with, yes.
Yeah.
And then in here I mentioned even NLP Marin, which is a primary model I learned, and some of it comes into bio.
Yeah.
Um, that how we actually feel is key in all of these. And I mean, I just think in any model worth its salt, but I'm so biased that it has to, at least if it's not the most primary thing it's addressing, I don't know. It, I have
Yeah.
such tunnel vision around this is the crux.
Yeah.
This
It's
is the absolute crux of our species and beyond our species. But because we are of our species,
mhm.
that's kind of you. We have to start there. But
Yeah.
the feeling thing when you were saying about saying it, referring to what is not present, but in that analysis way. One way, and this isn't only with NLP Mirror, and this is also work with Sarah Payton, um, Peyton, who does in that work. There's time travel healing, and also in NLP Mirror, and we don't call it that, but there's a associating into former versions of ourselves where the
Mhm.
feelings still exist.
Yeah.
The feelings exist, yeah, and especially if it's a unresolved trauma moment, it literally is still the present until we've processed it, and it's after we process it, it goes into the hippocampus. Not, yeah, it go. That's where the oh that happened.
Yeah.
We do have a story about it. Before then, it's in the amygdala, and the amygdala only has one time, and it is right the fuck now.
Yeah.
Only now for the amygdala. So what we call a memory, but it's not a memory until we've felt the whole feeling, and it goes into the hippocampus. It's just now. So we're all walking around with all these nows from other times.
Yeah.
So I did just want to say we can, if I associate into say 3-year-old me in a tricky moment that
Yeah.
has not yet gone into my history, it's just a present that maybe a smell or the look of a face or something will take me there.
Yeah.
That's now, but I can associate into her,
Yes.
feel her feeling. If I can tolerate it, I can speak from the past feeling. I just wanted to say that that's possible.
Yes. And this is
Past, quote unquote.
yeah,
It is
and this is
possible.
exactly what this like the feelings that are about the past from the past that I'm feeling now because they're still in my system,
Yes.
not processed. I call them like incomplete. They're
Incomplete.
incomplete.
Perfect
Didn't
name.
didn't
Incomplete.
finish.
They didn't finish. Yes.
And then what often happens is those feelings, which I just call emotions because to distinguish, there's these two words, feelings, emotions, they kind of mean the same thing. They all mean anger, sadness, fear, and joy.
Uh-huh.
But we just in possibility management just went, okay, the ones about the here and now, in the here and now are feelings. The ones about
Okay.
the past, because of the past that we're feeling now are going to be called emotions just to
Thank you for
discern.
simplifying that because I knew there was a distinction there, but I didn't know what it was until now. And now I know
Yeah,
what.
and
Thank you.
some people use a different. They
Hmm.
they describe it differently. They say that emotions are energy in motion, and feelings. I'm not quite sure what they say, but I've
I've
seen.
heard that, and I'm less
I'm
clear
like,
about
this
that.
doesn't really work for me, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then the like words that we use are stuff like yeah, that process of completing the emotions so that actually that part of myself grows up. So this movement from the amygdala to the hippocampus,
Hippocampus. Yeah.
hippocampus, it actually yeah relocates
Yes.
out neurologically, but it's like my experience of it is that that part of me gets a chance to grow up.
Absolutely.
And there are so many parts of me, of everyone I've ever worked with, that aren't grown up yet because at the time the things happened, there wasn't someone who was themselves skilled enough, grown up enough themselves to know how to empower this navigation to happen that would complete whatever had started. And
Yes.
so then it gets to the part where that little one kind of has kind of got no recourse but to choose, and it's an unconscious, unremembered decision until it's got back to numb, to
Absolutely.
decide, I will not feel my anger. I will not express my anger. I will not express my fear. I will not express feel my fear. I will not feel my sadness. I will swallow it. I will fake it. I will freeze it.
Yeah,
I will fight in these ways, whatever works. Whatever
yeah,
works to survive.
absolutely.
All of that became this
Yes,
personality I live in, or this something I live in, this thing I live in
yes.
that lives in me that, yeah, can be disintegrated, can be undone. This all can be undone.
And I just want to lift up that it needs to be done with care because our experience of ourselves will be completely. It is identity shifting work because what has integrated in all of these not feel that um, to have it all removed at once, we would not know ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And to not know ourselves in that way would be too disturbing. This is why it is a layer by layer, so that we can actually begin to become acquainted with who we actually are.
Yeah. Yeah. And the part about bodies too, something I love from possibility management is another set of distinctions, or like a thought map, a way to think about it
Yeah.
that, is one way to think about it. And I've experimented with this map and using these distinctions, and I found it's useful. So I use it.
Tell about it. Or you
And
maybe
it's,
did. You oh no, you are now.
yeah, it's distinguishing, first of all, four bodies. The physical body that's made of bones and tissues, the meat suit,
Yep.
and that is fed by certain physical foods. And this, it counts sunlight as a physical food, because it's actually like,
Yeah.
the sun's rays are like part of the physical world. Of
Yeah.
course, there's like energetic crossover everywhere. And yet it's like, okay, sunshine, water, grains and fruits and nuts and proteins, touch, movement,
All these things
air.
first. All those things are in one category.
Yeah, so the physical body's physical foods.
Okay.
Okay. And so then it's like, okay, then there's the mental body. The mental body's made of ideas, beliefs, thoughts, opinions, and and it also has foods. It loves to solve puzzles. It loves to receive information that paints pictures in it,
Yeah.
in the mental body. It loves to, play with language often, and so it's another body. It's made of thoughts, and it is fed by these foods. And then there's the energetic body.
Mhm.
And for me, it was like, what is the energetic body made of? Well, energy. Okay, that's doesn't add a lot. And but what I got to experiment with
Uh-huh.
is, what if the energetic body is kind of made of these energetic senses about timing, about distance and proximity, about pace,
Mhm.
and then about the energies of each of the four feelings. Because like the anger energy, it's got this movement to it, like direction, and the sadness has this like gravity often in it, and fear has this like electric thing.
Had I just asked though, is our emotions are those in the energetic body in this model,
No, they're in the emotional body.
which is after the energetic body
Yeah,
in this
but is
okay.
distinct from, but not like one's over here and one's over there. Similar to how the nervous system is distinct from the circulatory system, but they exist in the same place.
Yes. Okay. I think my brain was trying to follow. I'm sure you've seen pictures of the human body, and then with different layers of different
Yeah,
outside of the
yeah.
physical body is these other bodies. And so I was just trying to see like which this model might not even make sense, but if you were drawing it, would you draw it in the order that you're speaking it?
I would probably draw, if I was drawing it like on top of each other, I
Yeah.
would probably draw the physical body, the energetic body, the emotional body would take up the same space, but maybe be a different color.
Got you. Almost the same place, but a different color. Okay.
Yeah, and then the mental body would probably just be like up higher, like centered in the head.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. It really helps me to see, to have
Yeah, I'm like that
vision for a
too.
model helps me a lot because, yeah, it just does.
And the way this map is drawn in when it's presented, this is called the map of five bodies. And so far, like we're going to the fourth body would be the energetic body with its sense of pace and timing and all the energies of the feelings and of the emotions, which are slightly different. I've discovered, the emotional fear is very tightening, whereas the feeling of fear is just like free running
Oh, wow. I
electricity.
felt into those right as you said it. And yes,
Yeah,
energy, the emotion of fear. Yeah, it's it literally like, oh, like my organs get a
it's
little
like,
smaller and I squeezed in towards the center. But yeah, just as I just felt it when you were speaking it,
yeah.
fear is more like, oh, it's like,
Yes.
it's like, okay, oh, they're different. Oh my God.
I was experimenting with this a few days ago. I was at church with my mom
Okay.
singing these magnificent hymns and I'm so touched by them and I start tightening up and I can't sing anymore. And I'm like, "Oh, interesting. Fear, tightness. Let's experiment with this." And
Oh,
so I consciously I intended and I moved my fear from the muscles into my nervous system, into my spinal cord, into my free running. And I started being able to sing again. It was wild. And what I
did you
started
did you
singing,
almost you've almost physically acknowledged your own state? Is
yeah.
that the one way
And
you would say
this is a territory that I've been getting more and more interested in experimenting in more and more is how the physical body and the emotional body and the energetic body kind of come together. And there's been this discovery that says the home for anger in your physical tissues is your bones. Okay, we
Wait, wait,
say
hang on.
who
The
lives in your
home
bones.
for physical anger is in
The
your body.
home for anger, and the term like the resonant tissue for anger is the bones.
And this came from an experience you had, or was there first a thought that someone introduced, or
This there's been this whole specialty in possibility management that when this when this possibility came into the space several years ago in a lab where there are a whole bunch of possibility managers all experimenting together. And so I don't know how it came in or who brought it or from where, if they figured it out themselves or if they had come from, like, if it come from another model. That anger lives in the bones, sadness lives in the soft tissues and fluids, which kind of makes sense to me, like
yeah,
intuitively.
very much?
And
Yeah.
fear lives in the nervous system, and
And joy. What about
and
joy?
joy lives in the cell of every in the nucleus of every cell,
Okay, that makes so much sense to me. That
right?
makes so much sense to me. Can I
Yeah,
say a thing about joy?
yeah,
So that it is located everywhere because um it's been, I think it's both an experience and a thought together that joy is any, I don't even know how to relegate it to one place or time, but wherever we are located, whatever part of us we're tracking, wherever we are actually located, joy is in there.
yeah.
Somehow corresponds to what you said, so that makes me happy. I until just now I thought about that more in that with any feeling, in there is also joy. But it's beyond that. It's wherever, when and wherever I or you or someone exists, there is joy. Because joy is not but this is probably different than the experiments you've done with joy, but I feel like joy is an expression of being alive, and that other feelings can be with it or on top of it. So my conception or experience of joy may be a little different than when you do the practice,
Yeah,
and
and
that's okay.
how I
It might
distinguish.
be a little bit different, but
Yeah.
this every cell or every place, because I really think that aliveness is joy.
Well, I've been just like my experimenting has brought this yes, joy is absolutely like an ingredient for aliveness. And what I've discovered is so is anger, so is fear, so is sadness.
Woo! See, I have a little bias
Yeah.
still. So
Yeah.
I am not as comfortable with my anger and my fear. I'm much more comfortable with sadness and joy.
Yes. This is very common.
Yes, and probably, cultured being a woman, also, I think that has something to do with it. And publicly, I have a pretty high tolerance for joy publicly, but I think from what I know about interpersonal neurobiology and all this, that um, joy is really typically very scary for people to embody and express in front of
Yes.
other humans.
Yes.
Joy and play, far
As
more than the others, far more than the others.
well, I mean, anger's pretty hard for people to express publicly.
Okay.
Fear, and this is another distinction between that has to do with the distinction between emotions and feelings, which is that there's an old map for each of the four feelings and a new map.
Oh,
And the old map, I think, really comes from the different ways that each of the four feelings are have been historically used irresponsibly and often unconsciously.
I want you to wait because I have to go potty and I don't want to miss anything. I'm going to
Right.
pause us. If I can figure it out, I'm going to pause us and we're going to come right back. And it will feel like no time at all.
Okay.
And with us, just us. Only us will know. There it is. Pause. And we're back.
I'm not entirely sure that this was it, but this part about the two different maps, the old map of anger, sadness, fear, joy, and the new map of anger, sadness, fear, and joy.
Yes, I believe that was it.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many things that humans have decided that each of those four feelings means. For example, anger means you're an asshole. Anger means you're violent, you're dangerous, you're not to be trusted. At its best, anger means that watch out for you, look out. Like you're on track, you're going to do something. It might not be comfortable for other people.
Yeah.
Sadness on the old map is like sadness just means you're a victim, you're being a victim. It means you're childish. It means you know, like if you're a man, you're too feminine.
You're too sensitive. Yeah.
Yes.
Get over it. Right, right, right.
It means you're useless.
You're weak. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And with fear means you're a coward. Fear means, especially in like spiritual woo-woo circles, it's like fear means love is absent. There's no love where fear is. They're incompatible. It also means, you're too sensitive again. You're
Different kind.
probably you're probably out of touch with reality. Like you're imagining things. You're not really sensible. And even with joy, which is supposed to be the good feeling, right? The one everyone wants. If you feel joy, you're probably on drugs.
Right.
You probably don't take life seriously enough. You don't understand how much pain and suffering there is in the world.
Pollyanna, the
Yes,
naive
you're
Pollyanna had
naive.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. It also with joy. Oh, what was one that I just hit on the other day? It was so like, oh my gosh. If I remember it, I'll tell you.
Please do.
And so there's these ways that all four feelings, even the good one, joy, are turned into problems.
They're maligned.
Maligned, exactly.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's understandable
Yeah.
because there are ways that people use joy to put themselves above other people. Like, I'm better than you, or I win, you lose, and it's like
Ooh,
there's
is
this
that
way,
joy? I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
doesn't feel
it's,
like joy to me, but anyway, yeah.
yeah. And see, and that often, like, at first I was like, is that joy? But then when I really felt it, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is joy. I'm using this joy to get off on some superiority trip or some
Huh.
righteousness.
I'll have to do my own experimenting with that because the
Yeah.
thing that I feel like is joy has, from what this is from what I remember, is more, there's a kind of a euphoria, but it's expansive and ooh. This isn't just an intellectual memory. I'm
Yeah.
kind of, I'm a bit
Yeah. Yeah.
lightly putting it. There's this thing that I love so much, which is everything feels very possible, but
Mhm.
not in a like swimmy way, in a
Mhm.
specific, it's possible for this body.
Yeah.
It's possible. So it's like the most specific and the most expansive, which is a really delicious place to
Oh,
be
yeah. Yeah.
because
So,
there's guidance and there's, it's just like door open, but there's a specificity. It's not just this, like, I don't really like trance dancing or things like that because they're
yeah.
too blah for me.
Yeah.
I like a structure with my euphoria.
Mhm. Yeah.
I want to feel the, I want to, at the same time that I feel the possibility of much, I want to feel exactly me. The edges of me as much as the diffuseness of me,
Mm.
which is a real paradox, but when
Yeah.
those two
Yeah.
things align, I'm right here and I'm everywhere. Not one or the other. I'm right here and I'm everywhere. I don't know. That's the
Yeah.
physicality of joy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I appreciate you kind of taking this in and being like, I'll have to play with that and see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
What I want to add to it is that just like there's emotional anger and the feeling of anger, and something I've discovered about the differences between that is like when I have an emotional anger, it's about the past, and I'm trying to use it to handle my life. I'm not relating actually to the present. I'm, that's where a lot of projections come from, and that's where a lot of, and also there's the intensities that the feelings can be felt at, and people's numbness bar is usually set at a certain level.
absolutely.
So I might have a numbness bar here. I might feel anger about something in the here and now, but then I might use my fear unconsciously to tighten my anger down because I'm scared of my anger.
Yeah.
And then the next thing happens and the next thing happens and finally my anger explodes or implodes. And then I'm using this anger like it unconsciously, irresponsibly, it doesn't work. And the same is possible with joy because there can be joy that didn't get completed in the past.
Oh God, I have that. I have a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I can also, as a child, like, I think every human child I don't know, maybe there's some who didn't, but so far the ones I've talked to about this, when there's been incomplete joy, they sometimes start to learn to use their joy irresponsibly. And this comes out in things like laughing at people.
Oh, wow.
Like laughter is a way of usually expressing joy, but there can be a way that laughter is turned into this,
Mocking.
yeah, there, and it mixes with different feelings and thoughts, and it's an attitude, it's a set of behaviors. It's not just joy. There's one version of it, but there's this way that joy can be used that is, has consequences that I don't want to be going for those consequences, like this mockery, like
Light is, I mean, we're in the same time zone, so light is probably changing now, huh?
it is, and my lamp is flickering.
I still see you.
Can you see?
Either way, I see you with it
Yeah,
flick on, flick off. I see you.
perfect. Yeah, so this old map of joy, and then the new map of joy, where joy is, for celebrating. It's for inventing. It's for starting things. It's for, you know, going first. And when I go first with this like this here and now joy, and as distinct from if I'm kind of going first with this. Just going to turn it off so I'm not distracted.
Absolutely.
If I'm going first with this like superiority joy, like I'm so good, follow me.
Mm.
And maybe those aren't the greatest examples, but
Huh.
yeah,
I
they're the
hadn't
ones
thought
that
of
come.
I hadn't thought of those things under joy. I've thought of that in different. I don't even know the name for it, but something different.
Yeah. Another way that there's, or another kind of place to put attention to discover about this has been, do you know the drama triangle? I'm sure you know the drama triangle.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not something that I've actually played with a lot, though.
Mhm.
It's not been a primary, but I've been exposed to it here and there.
Yeah, so possibility managers several decades ago encountered the drama triangle. I I wish I could remember the person's name who kind of came up with it. He's a very cool guy and came up with it while he was accompanying his wife to the movies, and he didn't really want to go to the movies, so he decided to do his research at the movies, and he was researching like different human relating and different
That's
ways.
how he came up with it when he was
Yeah.
at the movies and
And
he
he
didn't want to
just
be.
Yeah, so he was like taking notes about what was happening in the show, and he noticed that there were really, when it came down to it, there were three roles that people were playing. There was either they were being the victim, either they were the victim, they were the persecutor, or they were trying to rescue the victim from the persecutor. And then it would sometimes shift. Sometimes the victim became the persecutor of the rescuer
Yeah.
because they didn't rescue them properly, right? So it could
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah.
And so possibility managers started using this and relating it to feelings, well, relating it to emotions, that the persecutor uses anger unconsciously to handle things. The rescuer uses fear unconsciously. I'm scared that the victim is not okay, so I'm going to rescue them. And the victim uses sadness unconsciously to kind of stay in this victim
Yeah.
role. But then there was discovered that they were like, what about the other feeling? What about joy?
Yeah.
Who's using joy in the low drama, in the drama triangle? And there was this discovery that's like, well, there's the joy is about getting it to spin.
Whoa.
Yeah, and you know how,
Everyone doing their role. Everyone doing their role.
yeah,
Everyone get into choreography, get in lockstep. Yeah. So the
And I
story was
see this,
felt like by the whole circumstance, by all the people.
yeah, and by parts of each person that is actually feeling joyful about, they're right to be using their anger like this. They're right to feel sad. They're right to be trying to rescue. It's like this righteousness and this I'm good
Mm.
or I'm justified. And I see it on social media. It shows up when people like when someone starts having an argument in a thread or someone posts something that's like provokes like reactivity.
Yeah.
And then there's like the popcorn eating.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
gross. It's so
Yeah.
gross. It's so gross.
It is. And it's so, this version of aliveness that is really not aliveness. It's not this five body aliveness.
No,
It's very much the head and the body and basically some degree of war.
it's war.
Yeah.
It's war.
And then possibility management kind of really got into this drama triangle thing and then discerned that there was a way of doing drama still. It was not this unconscious feelings being used to spin drama and war. It was actually using the feelings consciously to use anger to take a stand, to create what you want to exist, to want things, to be in touch with your boundaries and your yes and your no.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
then the sadness part of it is to use sadness to connect, to grieve, to heal, to be a communicator and a lover and an intimacy creator. And then to use fear consciously to go into the unknown, to do magic, to invent, to create, to hold space with
Wow, Nicole.
aliveness.
Yeah.
And the joy is like to access all of that and to lead the way into new territory, not as a hierarchical leader, but as a person who's just going first with joy and with sadness, fear, and anger, distinct, being used responsibly and consciously for collaboration.
Yeah. I love that.
Oh, it's just so works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say something here because it reminded me about the victim and the perpetrator. Um, there is a some I would call it really a subset because it's not part of any of the main courses at NLP Marin, but it's something that Carla Camus, who is one of the main trainers, she has led. It's um, and I've been, I think, at all of them, called the Inner Victim, Inner Perpetrator course. And I'm going to say something here that will take your brain a little bit to catch, but I think you'll catch it. And the our inner victim is our inner perpetrator's perpetrator, and our
Yeah.
inner perpetrator is our inner victim's victim. So that's just looking at one psyche. You could externalize it to two different people, but they chase the tail. They need each other.
Yeah.
They don't exist without each other in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. This has been one of the ways that this has been kind of talked about when considering and playing with and getting the map of low drama is that without the victim, the whole thing's done.
It's done.
Like and a victim can make a persecutor out of anyone and anything.
Yes.
And so if I choose not to do that, there can't actually be a persecutor. There doesn't need to be a rescuer.
It's beautiful. It's yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And it can be like it can turn on a dime. It can be so subtle that especially when someone comes at me or someone comes at me, even already there, right? It's a coming at
Right.
me. But
Yes.
if
Yes.
someone is with me and they're feeling anger, so easy for me to right away go onto the old map of anger, make them wrong and bad for feeling anger, make myself a victim, and claim this like, you're doing me wrong, rather than being able to meet them and be like, tell me more. What do you see? What are you getting? What do you want? Do you have a proposal for me? What's your feedback? What's your coaching? You know, you feel angry about something. What is it? You feel angry because, is it emotion or a feeling? And if it's an emotion, it's like, okay, like go process that. Will you do it? Instead of being like, becoming a victim and being like, oh, you know, they're such an asshole. It's not fair, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, all that you're saying presupposes that people know what the heck any of that is. Have
Yes.
support, have a framework, have a model for any of
Yes.
that. I mean, even the questions you were asking as you put yourself into the victim role who is responding consciously to anger coming towards, which is, what's your feedback, what's your counsel, what's your feeling or emotion, all of that is assuming a higher level of consciousness than is
Well,
often there.
well,
Yeah.
but also it's possible.
No, no, I agree. It
Yeah.
is possible. But I
Yeah.
mean, and
And
yeah,
yeah, and you're right. It doesn't happen until the person has learned to distinguish, learn to
yes,
process and complete the emotions, grow up themselves out of their amygdala into their
yes.
hippocampus. And like, if that's, you know, and there's lots of ways of describing it. And it like it and this is what is so cool to me about relating with people who haven't done it yet, or haven't done a lot of it yet, and haven't got to the part where they actually can be with themselves with enough like wherewithal to be able to say and do things like that. And it doesn't work to just have the idea of it,
No, it has
have
to
the
be.
recipe for it, you
Yes,
know, because when you're hooked, you're hooked. When you got your buttons pushed, this Rube Goldberg machine does what it does.
it's what, Goldberg?
This Rube Goldberg machine. You know in those movies like do you remember watching Goonieland,
I don't.
or these movies about like crazy scientists, and they have a thing where they turn on the light and the heat from the light bulb melts the thing, and then the thing goes here, and then it sets this in motion, and it wakes up
I
the hamster,
didn't.
and the hamster.
I didn't see too much of that for whatever reason. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Those are called Rube Goldberg machines.
Okay, okay.
Yes, you can have a lot of fun building those, especially with kids. Even like the marble ones,
Yeah,
it's like a very simple Rube Goldberg machine. But this whole like this way that I have of these habits I have that I go into, these patterns I go into, is very mechanical, very predictable.
yeah.
If this button's pushed, this thought happens, these feelings happen, this
It is.
words
It
tend to
is that.
happen. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, and so it's to change that, like you were saying earlier, you can't just change it all at once. It's got to change layer by layer, bit by bit, mechanism by mechanism, until there's this more possibilities
Yeah,
available
yeah,
for a person.
yeah.
and and experimenting, like actual experientially doing it so that that can become the consequence. Yeah, I feel so glad that I found what I found to work with, and to including people, including maps, including these distinctions, including different tools that empower me to use the distinctions in the maps and do the processes. It's just been so consequential.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's so cool to hear you geeking out on the different ways that different I don't know, modalities or ways that
Uh,
different groups of experimenters really
yes,
have figured it out. And it so much of it just it's like, oh, look at this. This is how they do it here, and this is how they do it here. Very similar.
yes.
And
So I
oh,
love
there's these
tracking.
different ways. What explains that difference? Like
Yeah,
what might be behind that?
yeah.
This has been fun for me because I've studied a lot of different I've studied in a lot of different game worlds.
I think game world is a new term for most people. So I just want to lift up
Yeah,
many
yeah,
different models for existing and for change. Models for
yeah.
change. Yeah.
And the word game world started being used because it describes things that it's like, yeah, some of them are models and some of them are not models. Some of them are other like game worlds in a I mean, in a way, it's like groups, but also it's not groups. It's so game worlds was a term that was kind of coined because it distinguished something specific.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wanting to catch people to not. I know that some where I could sometimes be lost.
Yeah,
Wanting
yeah.
to care for.
There's so many rabbit holes to go down.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you more about is how has it been for you? Because I I've seen your posts on Facebook lately, and there's a lot about how you're shifting from holding space for these women to come alive to training people to hold space for women to come alive.
Yeah, this is a new
That's,
development, and
oh,
I've
so
thought about it
deep.
for and been called to it for some degree since maybe 2016 or 17, but now, it's the time for it. So, um, yeah, we'll be doing that starting in the middle of this year, I think in May. Um, yeah. It makes me excited from the level of, there's been a little bit of loneliness in I get to it's so exciting to hold the space itself.
Yeah,
So excited. And there's all kinds of like unexpected things that happen in what is really a very simple container. If I tell you the steps, it's like, oh, those are so easy, those steps. But in the how to be with the humans,
yeah,
how to be as how to hold the space, which the whole group holds it,
yeah,
sure, for sure. But the facilitator, it's this really weird, it's this very paradoxical thing of, and it's part of the curriculum that I'm even writing into it, of it's you are key and it's not about you. You are key and it's not about you. So these so paradoxical, which reminds me of um a principle in bio or showgirl awakening. I call it special not special. Like you can only come into the work of supporting in this way, being in this way as a facilitator would, if you really embody and know and feel the absolute preciousness, not just of everyone else in the room, but of you. You can't fake it. You have to know it. It has to be, you can't be shy from it. Your own wonder and marvel at your own self has to be turned on.
yeah,
And to operate from it's so weird. So I can't wait to have more people to talk about it with, and then they can
yeah,
go and try it and talk to me, and we can talk about how is it in the place, because I can't say all those things
yeah,
in the actual space because it wouldn't serve in that
yeah.
moment. It wouldn't serve there.
The
It,
things, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it would take the focus to something else. So actually, this is very in line with how I've lived my whole life is I'm going to train collaborators. I mean, that's why I've been doing this all along the way. I want to play with people.
Yeah.
This will just be another level of playing with. And um yeah, it's that place of actually being exactly yourself and making yourself really open and having like dialing up and down at the very same time your desire for someone.
Yeah.
Dialing it up to its height of what I desire for you and dialing it all the way down at the same time of I'm making space for what you will desire of you. It's so weird because it doesn't make any logical sense.
Yeah.
No logical sense, and it's
Yeah.
the truth. It's about completely expanding and completely being empty at once. It's
Yeah.
neither one nor the other. So it's a lot of consciousness traversing, and I'm going to be, through, there'll be, I will learn a lot through the first training.
Yes.
It will be 9 months, and within it, there will be, I'll speak of what I can about what's happening or what's being invited, and then it'll mostly be doing it with each other. All the people learning the facilitation will work with each other,
Yes.
then go out and work with other people, and then talk about how it's going, and then come back and work in a different way with each other, and then go out and try. So it's very practical, doing it,
Yeah.
doing it, and then getting to reflect. So I mean, it's as always, it's the this I can only imagine will be for the facilitator in training a magnified version of what happens when someone comes through in the student seat
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's requiring and involving even more of a 360 of the person. Um, yeah, it seems like it's almost like adding a dimension. Yeah, same
Yeah.
journey, adding a dimension. Yeah.
Wow. I love it.
I do want to say one practical thing, and this is because I learned this from actually doing it because I never participated directly in the process because I was always holding the space for it. And then in one group that happened to have a whole bunch of people who had taken it, well, 3 or 4 people who had taken it multiple times, and I felt comfortable, and it was a smaller group. I said, I'm also going to participate this time. So I just changed my hat. And I
Cool.
did. I did. And the act that I created um, was one that it was very clear to me from the first improvisation onward. I am not to remove one piece of clothing. And this had happened with some people who'd come through and that was their choice and it was perfect and I knew and I even come my articulation about what burlesque from the inside out is it used to years ago involve um I would actually say I would quote a friend and colleague who said burlesque is when a performer takes the stage, magic happens, and said performer leaves the stage with less clothing. I literally quoted my colleague and friend. And about, I think in 2018 or 19, amended it to burlesque in this context, in the burlesque from the inside out, in the bio container, is when an artist takes the stage, magic happens, and said human leaves the stage with more of their radiant essence, both visible and tangible to themselves and those lucky enough to witness them. So it really is. I mean, I love skin and the
I've got
revelation of
so
skin.
many goosebumps.
It's a joyous and a delicious thing
Yeah.
which I recommend and advocate and revel in, and it is not necessary. The radiant essence doesn't need that.
Yeah.
I knew that intellectually, and then I came to know it in my body at the end of last year. So the container, even if someone is like, oh, burlesque, not interested, just
Yeah.
solo with the human body that is expressing, and basically it's doing this revision that we spoke of. It's actually disintegrating some layer or layers so that there is more freedom to be oneself. That is what each individual act is. It
Yeah.
is a discrete disintegration. And so bio, the acronym for burlesque from the inside out, the Latin root of bio means life. So the facilitator training will just be called bio. I am a facilitator of bio, which is I am a facilitator of life with this particular method,
Yeah.
whose history came in this way. But so that bio feels very important, and it will also reach more people because there's a whole bunch of people for whom burlesque is like, meh, take it or leave it. But this way of disintegrating and coming to life, so that makes me happy too.
Wow. I love it. Wow.
Ah. And honestly, I just kind of want to eat and drink and sleep and sometimes be in hot water and walk around and move my body and then be in these spaces. Like, really, that's like
Yeah.
the whole rest of it is like, like living and all these things. That I just really kind of don't want to do anything except
Yeah, you're alive for this.
I just want to be with this sweet body, keep her going, and hold these spaces. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Well, yeah, I do want to learn to cook a little bit. The truth is, I really just want to eat, but I think it'll help if I learn how to cook. That's another story for another day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Great.
Does this feel like a good pausing place on
Yeah.
our yeah, okay. What a journey, what a beautiful journey. Huh?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Stay here. I'm going to stop this, but stay. We will
Okay.
stay. Okay. Okay. Thank you, beloved Nicole, and whatever beloved is hearing this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and has traveled with us.
Yes. Thank you, Kellita. And thank you, everyone who's watched it and listened, and would love to hear
Oh my gosh,
anything
yeah.
from anyone, including you. Yeah.
Yeah, all the yous. And somewhere near this we'll tell how to find us.
Yeah.
I want to also just say it in here. What's the best way to find you? If someone happens to just be seeing this, and
Uh, so just Google Nicole Hartley Bradford
there you go. And you can see the
Awakening Village or something like that.
Awakening Village, Nicole Hartley Bradford and Awakening Village. And you can also just Google Kellita Maloof and Showgirl Awakening. We both have Awakening in there.
Yes.
Yep, there it is.
Cool.
I'm going to pause this recording until the next Always So Rich.
Yeah.
Okay.